Hello, 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 and how are you? I'm fine, I'm fine. I hope that you are too. Glad to have you back joining me again for our story time. We have some stories today about, well, knights. A knight. What is a knight? Oh, a knight is a soldier. Sometimes we think about knights fighting dragons. We talked about dragons sometimes being bad guys. Is a knight a good guy or a bad guy? This is the story about good knight, good knight. I wonder what makes him a good knight. Once there were 3 little dragons that lived in a deep, dark cave. The cave was in a dense forest, and the forest was in a faraway kingdom. Poor little dragons, they were very lonely in their deep, dark cave. And in that same kingdom, there was a good knight. Every night he kept watch. Can you look? Look. He watched from his crumbly-tumbly tower. It was way up on the very top of a very tall wall. One night, the good knight was on his watch. He heard a very large, very loud roar. So the good knight left the crumbly-tumbly tower. He climbed down the very tall wall. He jumped on his horse and away, he shouted. He galloped through the king's forest. Clippity-clop, clippity-clop, clippity-clop. And he came to the deep, dark cave. Inside, he saw the first little dragon. "What's this?" he asked. "Methinks it is a dragon." And he drew his shimmery, glimmery sword. The dragon had on his jammies. He was all ready for bed. "Oh, good, you have come," said the first dragon. "Could you bring me a drink of water, please? Then I can go to sleep." Didn't sound very dangerous or ferocious, did he? The good knight did not know what to do. But he was a good knight, so he got a drink of water and gave it to the dragon. Then he tucked him into bed. "Good night, good dragon. Sleep well, sleep tight," said the good knight, and then he galloped away. The good knight went back through the king's forest. Clippity-clop, clippity-clop, clippity-clop. He jumped off his horse. Thud. He climbed back up the very tall wall to the crumbly-tumbly tower, and there he stood watch. He stood watch for 5 minutes. Then he heard another very large, very loud roar. "I don't believe this," he said. He left the crumbly-tumbly tower, climbing down the very tall wall. He jumped on his horse. "Away!" he cried. He galloped through the king's forest, clippity-clop, 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 and came to the deep, dark cave. There was the second dragon in her jammies. She was all ready for bed. "Oh, good, you have come," said the second dragon. "Could you read me a story, please? Then I can go to sleep." "And could I have another drink of water?" said the first dragon. Good Knight did not know what to think, but he was a good knight. So he read the dragon a story, and then he tucked her into bed, and he got the first dragon another drink of water and tucked him into bed. "Good night, good dragons. Sleep well, sleep tight," said the good knight, and then he galloped away. The good knight went back through the king's forest. Clippity-clop, clippity-clop, clippity-clop. He got off his horse. Thud. He climbed back up the very tall wall to the crumbly-tumbly tower, and there he stood on watch. stood on watch for 2 minutes. And then he heard another very large, very loud roar. "Ah, this is just too much," he said. He left the crumbly tumbly tower, climbing down the very tall wall. He jumped on his horse. "Away!" he cried. He galloped through the king's forest, clippity-clop, 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 and came to the deep, dark cave. And there the third dragon was. He had on his jammies. He was all ready for bed. "Oh, good, you have come," said the third dragon. "Could you sing me a song, please? Then I can go to sleep." "And could you read me another story?" said the dragon. The second dragon. "And could you get me another drink of water?" said the first dragon. Oh my. The good knight did not know what to think, but he was a good knight. So he sang the dragon a song and tucked him into bed, and then he read the second dragon another story and tucked her into bed. And then he got the first dragon another drink of water and tucked him into bed. There they are. "Good night, good dragons. Sleep well, sleep tight," said the good knight, and then he galloped away. The good knight went back through the king's forest. Clippity-clop, clippity-clop, clippity-clop. He got off his horse. Thud. He climbed back up the very tall wall to the crumbly-tumbly tower where he stood watch. He stood on watch for how long do you think? 1 minute. And then he heard the largest, loudest roar of all. Roar! "Not again," he said. He left the crumbly-tumbly tower, climbing down the very tall wall. He jumped on his horse. "Away!" he cried. He galloped through the king's forest. Clippity-clop, clippity-clop, clippity-clop. He came to the deep, dark cave. "Oh, good, you have come," said all three dragons. "Let me guess," said the good knight. "Another drink of water?" "No," said the first dragon. "Another story?" "No," said the second dragon. "Another song?" "No," said the third dragon. "Then what do you want?" cried the good knight. "We need a good night kiss," said the little dragons, and they lifted their scaly little cheeks. "This is going too far," said the good knight. Do you think he's going to give them a good night kiss? Well, remember, he was a good knight. So he bent and he kissed each scaly little cheek. "Sleep well, sleep tight. Good night, good dragons, good night." And the dragon said, "Good night, good night." The good knight left the cave. He waited outside. He heard the loud dragon's snores. Then the good knight went home through the king's forest. Clippity-clop, clippity-clop. He got off his horse. Thud. "Now," said the good knight, "maybe I can get a good night's sleep." And that is just what he did. Sleep well, sleep tight, good night. I have a song I thought you might like to try and sing with me about one brave night. If you know the tune, I think you know that tune. We're going to sing "One Brave Night, One Brave Night." Can you ride your horse? "See how he rides, see how he rides. From his tower high," can you climb down? "He'll rescue you. He's good and kind and handsome too. There's not a thing that he wouldn't do for three little dragons, three little dragons." If you'd like to sing that again, you can just rewind this video and sing it along with me. I have another story about the good night. Get well, good night. I wonder who is sick. I bet you can guess. Once there were 3 little dragons. They lived in a dark cave. The cave was in a dense forest, and the forest was in a faraway kingdom. The poor little dragons were not feeling well. They were in their beds in the deep, dark cave. Also in the kingdom there was a good knight. Every night he kept watch from his tower, and every day he rode in the forest. But one day he was out riding. "Methinks I hear a sneeze," said the good knight, and he galloped through the forest, clippity-clop, and came to the deep, dark cave. Inside he saw the little dragons in bed. "What is this?" asked the good knight. "Methinks my little dragon friends are not well." The good knight reached down. He felt the dragons' scaly little foreheads. Their heads were hot with fever. Their noses were dripping, and their teeth were chattering. Went the first dragon. Went the second dragon. Achoo! Went the third dragon. "Oh, fear not, good dragons, I will get you well," said the good knight. He jumped on his horse. "Away!" he cried. He galloped through the forest, clippity-clop, and he went to see the old wizard. "I have come for help," said the good knight. "How can I help you?" said the wizard in his shaky, quaky voice. "My little dragon friends are not well," said the good knight. "Oh, I have just the thing," said the old wizard. He got out his big black pot, and he put in fish scales, old snails, fingernails, and lizard tails. He stirred the soup. Can you pretend you're stirring? Stir the soup. Round and round and round again. "Give this to your dragons," said the wizard. "It is scaly, snaily soup, and this will make them well." "Thank you, I will," said the good knight. He galloped through the forest, clippity-clop, and he came to the deep, dark cave. "Oh, good," said the dragons, "you have come." "This will make you well," said the good knight. "I have scaly, snaily soup for you." The dragons looked at the soup. It was dark. It was thick. It smelled awful. "Yuck!" said the dragons. "This soup is too smelly. We will not eat this smelly soup." And they turned up their little green noses. The good knight did not know what to do. But, help me say it, he was a good knight. "It can't be that bad," he said. "I will taste it myself." And he did. His face turned pale. He spit it out. "Oh, that was bad," said the knight. Went the first dragon. Went the second dragon. Achoo! Went the third dragon. "Fear not, good dragons, I will help you get well," said the good knight, and he jumped on his horse. "Away!" he cried. He rode through the forest, clippity-clop, and went back to the old wizard. "Back again?" said the old wizard. "How can I help you this time?" "That soup did not help," said the good knight. "My little dragons are still sick." "Ah, I have just the thing," said the old wizard. He got out his big black pot and he put in frog slime, old grime, a rusty dime, and a rotten lime. He stirred the soup. You ready to stir? Round and round Give this to your dragons, said the wizard. It is slimy, grimy soup. This will make them well. Thank you, I will, said the good knight. And he rode back through the forest, clippy-clop, clippy-clop. He came to the deep, dark cave. Oh, good, said the dragons, you have come. This will make you well, said the good knight. Try some of this slimy, grimy soup. The dragons looked at the soup. It was gooey. It was grimy. It looked slimy. Yuck, said the dragons. This soup is too slimy. We will not eat this slimy soup. And they turned up their little green noses. The good knight did not know what to do. But you know what comes next. Help me say it. But he was a good knight. It can't be that bad, said the good knight. I will taste it myself. And he did. The good knight's face turned green. He spit out the soup. Oh, that was really bad, said the good knight. Went the first dragon. Went the second dragon. Achoo! Went the third dragon. Fear not, good dragons, said the good knight. I will help you get well. The good knight jumped on his horse. Away, he cried, and he rode through the forest, clippity-clop, clippity-clop. He did not go to see the old wizard. He went to see his mother. Good day, good mother, said the good knight. My little dragon friends are not well. Can you help me? Oh, you are a good knight, said his mother. You have come to the right place. I know just the thing. But, that is what the old wizard said the good knight. Well, mothers know best, said the good knight's mother. She got out a pot and she put lots of good things in it. A little of this and a little of that, and she stirred round and round and round, and she tasted. She said. Give this to your dragons. This will make them well. Thank you, good mother. I will, said the good knight. The good knight rode back through the forest, clippity-clop, clippity-clop. He came to the deep, dark cave. Oh, good, said the dragons. You have come. This will make you well, said the good knight. I have chicken soup for you. Is it smelly? Asked the dragons. No, said the good knight. Is it slimy? Asked the dragons. No, said the good knight. The little dragons looked at the soup. It looked yummy. It smelled yummy. They held out their bowls and they tasted it. It was yummy. Yum, said the dragons, and they slurped their soup. Can you help me slurp? They slurped until every drop was gone. My head is not hot, said the first dragon. My nose is not dripping, said the second dragon. My teeth are not chattering, said the third dragon. We are well, cried all three dragons. Thank you, good night. Achoo, said the good knight. Oh no. Do you think he caught their cold? If you like those books about the good knight, they are by Shelley Moore Thomas and illustrated by Jennifer Plickus. So here's another one you could get from the library. Happy birthday, good night. And take care, good night. You might like to take those out of the library. Let's try one more little game here. I know you know how to play Ring Around the Rosie. How about if you're there with any friends or your mom or anybody else that you can hold hands like you would for going around the rosy to go around the circle, we're going to try and do some activities with that. All the king's knights on a warm sunny day hopped on their horses and galloped away. Can you start holding hands and going around in your circle? They galloped around the castle. They galloped through the town. They galloped so fast that they all fell down. Are you going to try that again? All the king's knights. Are you in a circle holding hands? All the king's knights on a warm sunny day hopped on their horses and galloped away. They galloped around the castle. They galloped through the town. They galloped so fast that they all fell down. If you like to do that again, you can just rewind the video. And if you're looking for something to do today, I made a shield for my knight out of just a piece of cardboard. And I decorated this one with a dragon. I took some extra cardboard, and that was after I cut out my shape, and just made a handle with some masking tape so I could hold it. You could draw, paint, crayon, whatever you like on your shield. Or look at this one. I made a family crest of things that I like. It's my own personal thing, things that I like. My favorite food is scallops and garlic butter. And my favorite toppings on pizza are mushrooms and olives. My favorite colors are blue and peach. My favorite flowers are iris, the forsythia. It's really forsythia, but I thought it was forsythia, my name. And these special Sonia roses from my wedding. And here are my favorite people, my grandchildren, Evan and Colton, Hallie and Claire. I made my shield to show things that would tell people about me. Maybe you could do that. Or make a family one about things about your family. Well, I had fun with those stories today. I think we're going to come back next week with some other night stories that you might like. See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile. Give a hug, ladybug. Blow a kiss, jellyfish. See you soon, you old raccoon. Out the door, dinosaur. Take care, polar bear. Wave goodbye, butterfly.